Hello, hello. Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. So we're a few days now into the Legacy of Freesia event, and here I come with the update, the progression video. Few words. There's many things to talk about today, but few words about my feelings on the character, generally speaking, how it turned out. I feel like the character is very good. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It's tanky. It's very good against bosses because it has very high regeneration and good mitigation layers. Very good damage for the current budget. Right now I'm sitting at about 8 to 10 divine budget with still plenty and plenty of upgrades to make. The damage is already feeling very nice. I did Eater of Worlds, I did Searing Exarch, I did Shaper, a few more bosses. They all die very, very quickly. Usually it takes like I don't know, like searing Exarch at this point, it takes about 6-7 seconds to kill him. So I'm pretty happy, and yeah, we're gonna talk about everything today. The changes that I made. The POB also is going to be in the description with all the changes and literally this current character. And yeah, let's jump into it. So first of all, I'm going to talk briefly about. I prepared some clips over here. I'm just going to do like in a crude way. I prepared some clips from the campaign because many people were asking about the campaign and how the build starts and how it feels like in the campaign in early levels. What skill to start, because you can't start Smite at level 1 unless you want to like make a new character and get Smite from a different character, right? So when it comes to leveling and the early acts before you get Smite in Act 3, I would say that you can use any skill you want. You could use, for example, Molten Strike with Ancestral Call. You could use Splitting Steel. I used Splitting Steel before I got Smite, and it felt very smooth. Probably better than Molten Strike, to be honest, because the damage is still fine, and you don't really need to worry about Ancestral Call or anything like this. It feels very smooth. It's not clunky, nothing like that whatsoever. As you can see, doing Dominus here in Act 3, the damage is very good. I found the Chaos Orb in Act 2, and I bought Brutus for that, as I mentioned in the build showcase, in the build guide video, and you know, I was talking about that in the video after that as well. You can first Chaos Orb you find, you buy Brutus, and that's it. That's your endgame weapon, right? After that, during campaign, you can just buy an upgrade and buy like a Brutus with better stats, and that's pretty much it. That's all you gotta do. This is Act 6, I do believe. At this point with Brutus, and this is without Relic yet. There's two thresholds basically during campaign that makes this build go much faster. The first one is when you get Brutus, whatever it's gonna be, Act 3, Act 4, Act 5, whatever you find your first Chaos Orb. And the second big threshold where you get the massive power spike is Act 7, because this is where you get your second Act 7, because this is when you get your remaining two, your additional two ascendancy points to take, to allocate, and this is when we get relics. Relics give you absolutely insane amount of damage, and since you pretty much get relics in Act 7, even if for some reason you are the most unlucky person of all time and you couldn't find any Chaos Orbs, then you know you for sure found something else so you could trade that for Chaos Orb and get your Brutus. But even if you didn't, let's say you found absolutely nothing worth of value until Act 7, then relics will carry you tremendously hard after that, and it's going to be fine. Here, like a short showcase of, for example, how much damage with, like, you know, how much damage you're capable of doing so early, right? Like the mini bosses, the act bosses die literally like 4 or 5 seconds, right? Because that's how much damage you do. There's another one. No, excuse me. This is already from mapping. This is like a tier 5 map. I had gear pretty much right off the campaign still. Some horrible rings. One ring without strength at all, and strength is like the most important stat. So very, very like, you know, basically like finished campaign and still like campaign gear for the most part. And that's how it looks like. I believe that was already with a 5 link though, but a 5 link chest. But tier 5 map with extra, I believe, more life, more damage, so 2 mods, and on top of that, Delirium. And as you can see, also in this video, I was even worse, weaker than I should be, because I bought Vol Smite and I didn't see that it was it had this thing you can block the experience on a gem, right? And it came with blocked experience, and I had Smite at level 12 in this video. So I could have still 30% more damage. Here's the modifiers, right? Endurance charges, more monster damage, more monster life. And right out of campaign with like some trash tier gear, it still was clearing maps just fine. And with like level 12 smite, it should be level 17, level 18 smite at this point, which will be much more damage once again. Into the showcase, I have a Minotaur map. I'm not going to do like anything special, like, you know, just Minotaur map with some whatever mods on it, with Searing X-Charge, some relics over here, just to show you guys how the build feels. And after that, we're gonna talk about PoB. So when it comes to PoB, the differences between PoB that I showed in the first video and right now, I made some changes to make the build feel more smooth. For example, the uptime on our rage is 100% now, because I did auto exert with General Scry. I'm going to explain in PoB how this works. Also, this character, the showcase, is going to be technically a little bit worse still, because I literally flipped my gems like 10 minutes ago. So, you know, my gems are like level 16 or something like that. They're lower than they should be, so... but I don't think that's going to matter. I don't think it's going to matter. We're going to do this map also with Delirium in it, because why not? Vol Smite, also great skill, one of my favorite skills, I have to admit, in PoE 1. Feels really good to use Vol Smite, because it just explodes the entire screen, and the best part about it is that it makes your it makes your consecutive smites stronger. For 8 seconds, it improves your smite, and on top of that is giving you flat lightning damage. We convert all of our damage to fire at 50% efficiency, so that extra damage from Vol Smite still adds us some damage. So it's definitely worth it to use it. Take it and use it, boys, is what I'm trying to say. Vol Smite, very good. Vol Smite good, D4 bad is what I used to say on stream. So, so yeah, yeah, tankiness is alright. For the defensive players, we have life, obviously decent amount of life because we're stacking strength. It's going to get much stronger still in the future, simply because I'm at the point where I want to stack as much strength as possible. We're probably going to get to over 2,000 on this build, probably even a little bit more than that, depending on, you know, how much I'm going to invest into it. But I think I want to invest into it quite a bit and wait until I get, like, you know, everything and cluster jewels and stuff like that, because I really want to see how far I can push this. This is a short event, 1 month. There is a good chance that they're going to extend it a little bit. That being said, I still... oh, you know what? We're going to take this. This is dangerous. This is 95 physical as chaos, and this is a dangerous mod, but 3 chaos here. I'm probably going to remove the Delirium before we fight the Minotaur, because, you know... that's going to be a lot of damage, and, you know, I'm still sitting at relatively mediocre amount of currency, and the gear is not like insane, nowhere near insane. So if I had, like, you know, fully invested into this build at this point and had, like, my, you know, late game 9,000 life or something like that, I pretty much would fear nothing, at least in like a tier 16 map. But yeah, I did the bosses with this build. I did the Searing X-Charge, I did the Ether. Very easy, very simple. I pretty much face tanked them because they're just not capable of going through our region. We have 7 Endurance charges when it comes to defensive players. We have Blood and Sand, excuse me, Flesh and Stone. So people, enemies that are in melee range do less damage to us. It's actually also pretty good for Labyrinth and stuff like that, because it's rare, but the damage reduction from Flesh and Stone does work on something like, you know, environmental things like traps, for example. So that's kind of cool. When it comes to doing different types of content, like Legion over here, you can see I procced a lot of content on this map. Not the best character for Legions because, you know, we are playing like a low investment skill Smite. I don't have any area of effect on my Smite, which means that was the Legion boss. And this is like a lot of delirium at this point. This is like a lot of delirium effect, probably like around, I don't know, 60 to 80%, right? So so enemies are definitely much stronger at this point. And you know, there is content that this build is definitely better for. I don't know if Legion is one of them. You would probably have to invest into more area of effect and maybe some other, you know, modifiers. Yeah, I mean, Legion is a very peculiar mechanic, and I don't know if necessarily a Smite build is going to be the best for it. 40 Simulacrum Splinters, we did some work. Alright, there's the Minotaur boss with extra chaos damage, a lot of extra chaos damage. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. 10 divine budget, Minotaur dies in 3-4 seconds. Even with extra damage mods, we are just too tanky. Too tanky. Flesh and Stone, 20% damage reduction. There's one fun interaction that I'm going to talk about in a second. 7 endurance charges, massive regen, currently sitting at 1800. This obviously will scale up and up and up as soon as you get more life, because we do percent regeneration. There's also something like you can get 2% life regen corruption on helmet, which would be very nice. We have 23 permanent, not permanent, but pretty much while mapping permanent fortify. So very, very strong defensively, very strong when it comes to damage, and it can scale into oblivion. But I'm going to talk about upgrades in a second. We'll be going about over PoE, PoB. All right, so PoB, the changes that I made compared to the last video, you know, the build showcase, the PoBs that I showed you. Let's start from the beginning. So these 2 points here, if you want to invest into more tankiness, keep in mind that life for us is also damage. It's going to give us a little bit of damage because we scale our damage from rat pits. You can use that. You can go for attack speed. I decided to go for attack speed. Then this is the same as before. Now the new thing is I invested into these 4 points. I dropped determination from the build completely. And instead of determination, I decided to save points and not really put too many points. This is the only one, really, into mana reservation in this build. And not use determination because I feel like with all the defensive modifiers that we have, physical damage is not really that big of a problem. We have like almost 10,000 armor anyway. You can use Granite Flask or something for even more, for like 15,000 armor or something like that, if you feel like you want a little bit more physical damage mitigation. But honestly, we have block, something I didn't mention. We obviously also have block from Iron Fortress, and the more strength you're gonna scale, the more block you're gonna have. We can get almost 75% block you know, essentially at the late game of this build with enough strength stacked. So that is very strong, a very good thing that Iron Fortress gives us. But I dropped determination. I use flesh and stone, and this increased effect of non-curse auras from your skills on enemies modifier does work on aura. So for example, if you have 21 level flesh and stone, instead of reducing their damage by 20%, you'll be reducing by 22%. And additionally, these nodes are pretty nice because they, on top of stats, they give us strength because of Lethal Pride, and the extra notable modifier, very nice here. My Lethal Pride is very mediocre. I bought it for 1 divine. The only thing that it has for the most part is like this 15% melee critical strike multiplier and 10% strength. You can get miles better than that, by the way. But this is something that we're gonna you know, talk about late game. Like, you know, a lot of investment. One thing I didn't allocate before was an unwavering stance, and decided that because we're pathing through it, there is absolutely no point not to take it. Immunity to stuns at the cost of 1 point is amazing. The cannot evade doesn't do anything for us because we have no evasion whatsoever, like unless you count 263 as evasion. But we can allocate that and forget about stunts. With Purity of Elements, we're immune to stunts, we're immune to elements, we can be chill, we can be frozen, we're pretty much immune to curses because we have reduced effective curses on our flasks, and on top of that we have permanent consecrated ground. So we're basically immune to curses, immune to ailments, immune to stuns, borderline immune to bleeds because bleeds don't matter when you have this amount of regeneration. I mean, it just feels good to play. That's one type of a build that feels good to play, that don't need to really worry about stuff, that you're going to find. This part of the tree is still the same. This part of the tree is still the same. I don't think I made any changes here, apart from the fact that the remaining 5 points will probably go into this jewel socket, which is going to be a massive damage multiplier, and also these 3 points because I didn't allocate them yet. These are insane damage nodes, but I needed my points to allocate here. If for some reason you want to drop Flesh and Stone completely, then you can drop this entire cluster over here, and to your auto exert you can add additional Warcry that will exert your attacks sometimes. That will give you a little bit more damage, and 4 passive points that you would be able to allocate into, for example, this. But I feel like the damage, I know how hard strength stackers scale, and I feel like having like a defensive like aura buff is going to be better than just investing even more into damage, because I know that the damage on this build is going to be very, 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 very high anyway. The remaining points, of course, you can also invest into life if you want. It's like some 6% life nodes. It's not going to be bad at all to invest into them, or you can invest into maximum resistances. This cluster over here, also very fine. Other than that, I don't think there's any other differences on the tree. Crit cluster, absolutely insane. Mandatory in the future when we'll be talking about the very expensive version of the build. We're going to probably drop this entire thing and put a big ass cluster jewel over here with absolutely insane amount of stats it's going to provide us, and life at the same time. And this cluster is going to be insane. Massive damage boost, massive tankiness boost. Not massive tankiness boost, but mostly damage, right? One thing I didn't talk about is that jewels, my jewels are right now very mediocre, basically 3 stat. This 9% damage basically doesn't matter. So they're 3 stat jewels. I made a small mistake. I think I was afraid that the build is going to be very, very slow. Very slow. It's not. It actually feels good. It's not that slow at all. The movement speed with shield charge and with when you have Quicksilver and Silver Flask, very good. Very fast with Frostblink. So speed is not really a problem. So what you can do instead, having this 4% or 4 to 6% increased attack speed while holding a shield. Instead, I mean, hold on, I'm going to show you something. Just say let's craft a jewel, right? This jewel is going to be a Crimson Jewel, and we're going to have attack speed, Mace's Scepters, attack speed, holding a shield, and strength, right? Let's just say some basic jewel, right? Let's just exchange these perfect jewels. These crafted jewels over here, a little bit more damage, but that's not the point. The point is we're gonna drop this attack speed and instead get crit multiplier, critical strike multiplier with one-handed weapons. See what happens to your damage, right? You lose some speed, but the damage is going to be even higher. And that obviously is going to increase even further if you have future upgrades. If you're gonna have consecutive upgrades, something like, for example, better Diamond Flask because my only has 39% increased critical strike chance. This can get better. Critical Corruption or the Harvest, 5% increased crit. That's gonna give us some extra crit. Cluster Jewels in the future as well. The more crit, the more effective these crit multiplier affixes will get. So this is something to keep in mind definitely. It's going to be good to invest into crit multi instead of that attack speed. You don't have to. Attack speed is fine. Attack speed is king always. But yeah. We're going to go over gear real fast. Brutus, I have that Brutus with me since, I don't know. I bought like a random one in the campaign for 1 chaos, and I bought this one for 5 chaos, and that's it. That's your best in slot weapon, period. Because it just adds insane amount of critical strike chance and insane amount of flat damage. You don't really need anything better than that. The only better one would be with corruption, either crit or attack speed. It will be even more insane if before that you crafted crit from the harvest enchant, because this elemental damage is, we have a lot of percent damage. So we have, let's see, false smite, change to smite. We have 1300% increased damage in total so far. Almost 700 from strength, and another 500 from Matbid's globe. So, that's a lot. So 16% increased elemental damage in comparison adds very little. So crit, attack speed over here, corruption, something like that. Here, of course, this one you could get with nice corruption, like increased life, reduced critical strike damage from crits would be very nice. Or some other ones. Yeah, it's totally fine too. I don't know if you have if you can have corruption with can you have purity of elements corruption? You can't. A 23 level 23 purity of elements would be nice because it would be free. It would free a socket as well. But not really a big deal. You can take reduced area damage taken from hits, very nice. You can take increased maximum life. You can get block. Spellbook probably not because we have unlucky spellbook anyway. This crit strike damage reduction, all these corruptions are going to be totally fine. Maybe in a future video I'm going to talk about the potential upgrade that you could make, like a craft, like a insane rare shield. But this is, going to be for high budget. So Crown of Ice, I think the best corruption here on the current iteration of this build would be most likely regeneration. Regeneration's insane, and on top of that, this would be a very, very cheap thing to get. Don't worry about getting such, it's red, green, blue. So 3 off color, technically pretty hard to get. But that's not true because you have chromatic orbs, chromatic tainted orbs from beyond. So you're probably gonna drop few. And besides, you can mix and match this setup that I have right here. If you have slightly different colors, then you can experiment and like get the right links and the colors done in other pieces of equipment. I didn't really have a massive problem with that. So Crusader plate Iron Fortress is going to be most likely best in slot unless we're talking about hyper late game. It gives us block, it gives us a lot of damage, it gives us a lot of strength. It doesn't have any life modifiers, so we can use 15% life mastery on top of that, which is actually pretty nice. I have +1, +2 level of socketed aura gems. What do you do technically? The best way, from my experience, I'm going to talk about how to get 6-link Iron Fortress for cheap, or like way cheaper compared to like buying it. I just bought this chest with +2 level of socketed aura gems for 24 chaos. It had no sockets, it had no links obviously, but +2 for 24 chaos. Some people don't realize that +2 aura gems is actually pretty good corruption, because smite is an aura skill, so that actually gives us +2 smite, about 10% more damage. But what you do is you just use tainted currency, and you try to get to 6 sockets. I'm just gonna show you. I'm just gonna show you over here. People that want to use that in the future. You have tainted currency, tainted jewelers, and tainted fusings, and every time you fail, you just want to get this, right? 4 sockets, and if you after that you want to use your tainted jeweler orbs. If you get to 5 and then to 6, the chance is pretty high. It's, I believe 50% right now, so it's not very expensive. You're gonna get it pretty quickly. If it drops to 3, then you want to use this 4 socket recipe again. And after you get your 6 sockets, then you instead want to use with the same principle 4 links, right? You have 4 linked, 6 socketed Iron Fortress, and then you use Tainted Fusing. If you get to 5, that's nice. You have shot at 6 immediately. If you drop to 3, then you just craft this again, and you just go over. And from my experience, this is pretty cheap and way faster, way cheaper, way simpler way of getting a 6 link compared to like expensive 6 links on the market for like 6, 7, 8 divines. This will cost you less. I got extremely unlucky this time when I was crafting it, and I still got it in like 4 divines. This entire chest cost me like 4 divines. And I got extremely unlucky. Usually the cost of something like that is going to be 2 divines, something like this. So, yep. And the best part about this is that when you buy corrupted, you can try to find some nice corruptions. So it's even better than a non-corrupted one in that matter. So yeah, very nice, very simple way to get Iron Fortress for quite cheap. Then +1 strike, gloves, and inflict non-fire exposure on hit. When we're gonna get to gloves and rings, which is right now, you're going to quickly realize how horrible my gear is in some places. These gloves, they don't even have attack speed. These gloves are literally just strength, mediocre amount of life, and lightning resistance. That's it. So that's pathetic. +1 endurance charge. Forget this movement speed. Just get +1 endurance charge. Alburn Warpath, and you're going to be fine. Zov's Blood with I don't have catalysts yet. It's going to be hard to beat this unless we're talking very late game. You can allocate many things. True Strike is going to be fine. You can allocate something like this for very cheap. Battle Trance, it's going to give you 10% maximum rage, which is effectively 10% more damage, right? Totally fine to do. And probably I was honestly thinking about swapping from this, because I don't think that gives me, it also gives me about 10% more damage, but it's just, they're both going to be fine. This one is even cheaper, so you can allocate this for very cheap, and you're going to be fine in the beginning. Later on, super late game version, which one would be the best? To be honest, I'm not sure. Way of the Warrior is kind of nice, but gives us life, strength. This one is still decent, to be honest. So you don't really need to worry about that once you get this. Rings, obviously we want to get as much strength as possible, but what I have right now is just pathetic. It is what it is. This is not even in the realm of like Calandra reflection rings. These are not even helical rings. So, let's just say that I just switched these rings real fast to the amount of strength that you would get on a helical ring. Not even like a Calandra reflection ring, just helical ring, right? So, boom, our damage is going to increase. Already by about 13%. 12% more damage, and block, and life. And it's, from here it just gets more, you just get more and more because the multiplier is how strength stackers and stat stackers work. Then you get your cluster jewels, get even more strength from cluster jewels, and then you get better lethal pride, so you get more percent strength, and then you get 2% more strength from Zov's Blood, and it just goes on and on and on. It just scales forever. Basic belt, I bought the 15% increased strength one for 30 chaos. This is like a very low item level, but don't worry about that too much. I think that what item level you should get at least is level 74. 74 or 72 is perfect. I don't remember, because at 74 or 72 you can get tier 2 resistance. So don't worry about super high 93, 80, 83 eye level belts. 74 is going to be totally fine, and you just slam. You increase the quality by catalysts, and you slam a deafening essence of rage, and that's it. You just wait until something decent. And I got this one in about like 20 essences, and the entire belt cost me 1 divine. And flasks, you're gonna see for yourself, because I don't want to make this video too long. Basically the same stuff as I had in the previous POBs. I'm going to link. This is pretty much it, right? I'm going to link this POB of my current. This is literally my current character. And yeah, in the future I'm going to make more videos. I'm going to make an update on how the character progresses. Probably going to play it for around week, maybe a week and a half, and I'm going to probably jump into, depending on how much currency I will be able to farm, I'm going to jump into my late game project, which is going to be, I think, honestly insane. But if I'm going to have, maybe I'll just like push this character. I don't know. That kind of depends on what GG is going to say when we're gonna have PoE 2, but also if this event is going to be extended. This all going to matter. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Next video probably going to be in like 2-3 days with another update on this build, how far I progressed it, and yeah, if you want to ask any questions, I'll be streaming like after uploading this video. I'll be streaming pretty much the entire day long, so you can join and say hi if you want. And you can ask, of course, questions down in the comments. I'm going to answer every single one, like as many as I will be capable of. All right, thank you very much for watching. Peace.